We can have it be a beach theme. You want more red. Okay, fine.
So, Tony and I are back-end engineers.
And before we start, what if front-end doesn't actually really do anything?
Just make it up.
Oh, she said it wasn't recording.
So, Tony and I are back-end engineers.
We feel like we do the real engineer.
I don't know about that.
So, like, what does front-end actually do?
Hello, I am Rob. Thank you for introducing me, Catherine. My name is Rob.
Surratt.
I'm Rob Surratt. I'm the glue of engineering because we tie all of your work together. Front end is very important because it is the thing that the user actually interacts with.
But like, there's one back end and there are multiple front ends that render the back end. So how do you hold it? How do you glue it
We tie
together?
everything together and present it to the user in a nice, beautiful package.
Can you be more clear? It sounds like buzzwords, like when business people talk about how they're gonna like enhance something, bring synergy into the product.
Yes, I'm glad you asked. We embark on a spiritual journey. Literally, we embark on a journey for the user. The user wants to do something, and we explore how they can do it different ways. We take them to their desired location. Virtually is an entire journey that the customer goes on. And a successful journey is one where they eventually wind up doing what they want to do. And that is all done through the pillars of front-end design.
Oh, what? So what do you do?
So
We
like,
mostly add buttons.
so why does it take you guys so long to add a button?
Great question. I'm glad you asked. There are so many facets of front-end design that back-end engineers don't have to worry about that. And front-end engineers are very jealous of that.
And what
Or those
facets?
For example, you described a button. The button's gonna have text on it. So someone has to decide what the text is.
Like a yes or no?
No, very complicated. For example, if you wanted to watch a recording on TV and you wanted to now view the live broadcast, what should it say?
Live.
Sure, live.
But then there's no action. What is live? Are you going to live? Are you...
I'm a back-end engineer. I'm
Yo,
not
so
just
hold
like-
on. As a front-end engineer, you don't actually design what the text on there. The product owner does that. So you literally just put whatever text is on the button.
You're given the specifications.
Yes, well, product actually comes to us and asks us based on our experience. What do we see in other apps, in our experience developing, and past experiences? So it's not product just solely deciding. They actually come to us, and we have a discussion with them. We go back and forth, and we finally decide. That may take however long it takes. We'll finally decide.
So
How long does it
this discussion takes like a month?
We normally hash it out in 1 hour, but then we'll come back to it. For example, we'll show it to other people, and it's great to get many different viewpoints. That's why it's not good when just one product manager decides on it. It's great to get many different viewpoints because people could interpret things in different ways. So the key is to get everyone's input. So some people may say, oh, I actually misunderstood that as this. And now we know, all right, well now we have to reword it. One person misconstrued it. Probably thousands of users are going to misconstrue it as well. So just deciding on the text itself can take a while.
But is that engineering or is that like discussion and like user research more?
Oh,
like
that's
what
true.
front-end engineering? Like what does front-end do?
It could fall into user research, that's absolutely true. We are the ones tying it all together. Once the text is actually decided, now we need to go to the language team and get it localized into a bunch of different languages.
It's really easy to
You just-
localize yes or no.
But for many of us, it's another step in the process to localize it into all the different languages. Then legal will review it and will decide on a legal basis, does this make sense?
The translation no to no, but make sure that's
They'll make sure that the actual text we decided on and all the translations are legally true. And a little legal life hack for all you out there. A lot of times, the legal team likes to justify themselves. So if you bring them just one option, they'll always turn it down and say, no, it has to be reworked. If you bring them multiple options, they'll always choose one of the options. That will save you valuable time.
To be honest, this is a great insight. I didn't know like front-end had so much like paperwork they have to do in their front-end engineering.
Well, when we interact directly with the user, our jobs are very important, so it's a lot of paperwork.
So what do you think backend does?
They send us garbage and we turn it into gold.
But it's such a pretty JSON.
I don't know if I
JSON's
call
so beautiful. There's a field and then there's a value. We don't have to have discussions about what to call the button.
And the front engineers are very jealous of you. I would love to just call it whatever and it just work.
We can call fields whatever we want, and then you guys
Have to deal with
deal
it.
with that.
Exactly.
Then make it like look pretty for the user.
Exactly. We turn your garbage into gold.
But it's not garbage. It's well formatted JSON.
If your
Potato,
JSON
potato.
was actually well formatted, we wouldn't need JSON formatter. There's a whole world of JSON formatters just because your JSON's not pretty. And that's our job. Taking your JSON, turning it into beautiful buttons, labels,
So,
images.
Is HTML a programming language?
Oh, that's a great question. Depends how you define programming. I would say yes, because that makes front end more important. Which is
That's
very
not
important.
a good justification.
But like, what is it computing? Can I add two numbers with the language?
This brings up a great point. The journey of front-end design. Back in the early 2000s, front-end design used to be basic HTML. Then you could add some CSS, add some formatting, maybe some basic JavaScript if you want to get really fancy.
Mm-hmm.
But in the past decade, we have seen a huge, mammoth explosion of front-end frameworks. We have Angular right now, Vue, React is probably the most popular right now, where it's mostly JavaScript driven, and you're just returning HTML and CSS.
So how come if front end like has all these like frameworks that are solid and everything like this, and it's like a real programming language, you guys switch frameworks like every 6 months?
Because we need to justify our salaries. When it's already done, you can just explain that we need to rewrite it in a new framework.
The new framework, does it have like new features?
Normally, there are new features that come out with it. And as the industry moves,
Normally, not always.
well, there's frameworks that could do literally anything that you could dream of. There's a JavaScript framework for that. So it depends what your use case is. And you always want to keep up with the industry. So as most other companies are shifting maybe to React, you also want to shift with them as well.
So have you ever seen the case where in front end you guys switched from framework A to B, back to A to B like multiple times?
Yes, that has happened before.
Because to me, as a back end, that seems like a waste of resources.
Normally we'll start converting it for a certain reason, and maybe that reason hasn't fully worked out. For example, I work on a mobile team, and we thought web views were the way to go. You build it once, it works on browsers, it works on phones, laptop, anywhere. However, we realized that you lose a lot of functionality when doing web views. There's a lot of native specific code that you lose the ability to use, and a lot of features that we lose the ability if we did it all in web views. So while we thought it was a great idea to do web views, design it once, works for everything, we learned it's actually better to do full native code.
And now you're gonna go, will you go back to web views?
So some part will be web views, especially as we develop new features. Sometimes we'll launch it as a web view and then convert it into native.
Doesn't that sound inefficient?
It depends. We like to get features out to the users as quickly as possible. And we prefer to get them out to it in a web view, and then we can build it in full native and then
So you build
deploy
it
that.
twice.
So you guys focus on speed over like doing it the right way.
That is one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is that we are getting brand new features out to our users all the time.
But features that are barely held together because they weren't written.
Well, depends how good the backend team does building it.
Oh!
So it is.
So
it
we have to
is.
carry like all the hard work.
You guys are returning the data. We are presenting the data in a beautiful way.
But we're like
And-
creating, maintaining, and transforming the data. And as you said, you're presenting it.
Yes, and the only reason the customers can find that data that you do all that work on is because we take them on a journey. From the time they open the app to the time they're viewing the code that you guys wrote and is being presented to them.
So Rob, do you feel like front-end developers or back-end developer do more work?
That's an interesting question. As a front-end developer, I would say front-end. However, I understand if you guys have a differing opinion.
So when you front end, you're working on your mobile app, you release it, there's no on-call. Our services are running 24/7, they're in the cloud, they could go down, and so we have to be on call in case we get called if they just happen to break. But like, you have no on-call, is that correct?
That is a great point about front-end. Because we release every 2 weeks, and also our releases have to get approved by Apple or Google, whatever store we're releasing to, we can't do a hotfix and just fix it on the spot. It's something that will update in the next release cycle. So there's one benefit to front end.
So have you ever broken the app and you have to wait another 2 weeks to fix it?
Oh yes. That has happened before. And to that point, yes, we're not on call, but we have a harsher deadline. It's not something that we can just say, oh, I'll finish working on it on Saturday and just deploy it then. We need to, if the release is going out on Thursday, it needs to be in on Thursday.
It's like way more structured.
Yes, we have very hard deadlines.
Who do you think makes more, back end or front end?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I would say front end engineers make more.
Really?
Why do you say that?
I think they do. I think they're in very hot demand right now. Mobile development is something that is a blossoming field.
What's the latest like iOS app you downloaded?
The latest one I have downloaded, the new Yik Yak app. Want to relive your college years? Get Yik Yak.
Not sponsored.
I used to work with you.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah.
Did you download the new Yik Yak app?
No.
You should check it out.
But my point is like when you download an app, it's because it's connected to information in the cloud. Like you used to be able to download these games and you would play the games and they were fun. And the apps are no longer standalone as they used to be. How do you feel about that?
While that is important, you do need a way to present that data to the user. We take them on a customer journey so they can find what they're looking for. And a big problem with mobile development right now is there's not any degree for it. You can't go to college and get a mobile app development degree.
Yeah.
So there's a shortage of mobile app developers. So to attract those talents, they have to pay them more. Whereas Java devs are a dime a dozen. Everyone learns Java in college.
Java's really great. Like
Great and not special. And that's why front-end engineers get paid more.
So what do you think? Who do you think gets paid
But
more?
but it's definitely back-end engineers that make more. Because we have to build this entire system, the infrastructure, the core product, and we have all of these clients, all of these, you got your Android app, you got your website, you've got your iOS app, you've got your text messaging system, you have your integrated proprietary technology, all these different clients, and the core of the product actually has to work. I mean, maybe the Android app's not working, maybe the iOS app's not working, but the website's still working, so that's good. But like front end can fail and it's like okay, but like back end, the whole system goes down, that's not good. Like that, then there's like no way to get the data, no matter how pretty you want to present it.
Right. I think customers are more receptive to backends going down, oh, it's some kind of server outage. When the front end app breaks, in my opinion, is more embarrassing. You can access the data, you just can't because the button's not wired up correctly, or you can't find it, which is why the customer journey is so important.
Just use Postman.
Plain JSON. Yes, but doesn't the user love to feel special? That we designed this experience just for them? When they hit a button, it's nice and responsive. They immediately see their changes. They pop in with animations. It's colorful. They love that experience.
Comment down below if you agree.
What if no one agrees? What if no one agrees?
agrees?
What if no one agrees? To make so many fake YouTube accounts. That's a bad front end feature.
Yeah, it is.
That's why front end's important. If they were smart, they would have thought about that.
This is actually probably a hardware issue. So it's not
So it's outside of our
What is
personality.
hardware,
What
dude?
is hardware?
The
Is
front
back-end or
conversation.
hardware more important?
Well, the hardware, you have 20 different hardwares you can use, but there's one backend that makes it all work.
Is hardware really that important? Steve Wozniak built an Apple computer in his garage. Is it?
It's not scalable. What would you like to let engineers know about front-end development?
Front-end development is a great choice to back-end. In school, if you go to college for computer science, they mostly teach you back-end. So you might feel that you're pigeonholed into going to back-end, but that's not true. There's a whole world of front-end development out there, and there's actually a shortage of front-end developers. So this could be your chance to take part in an emerging market. Maybe you're a more visual person, and you like to see things change as you're working. You change a button color to red, and boom, the button pops up in red.
But I can also change the JSON.
I mean, yeah, but then you're just looking at text. Who likes to look at text?
So what I'm getting at, if you like pretty colors and visual stuff, do front end, you like to solve like hard algorithms, like challenging problems, you do back end.
Yes, and if you want to make stuff that people see, you do front end. And if you want to do stuff that maybe one or two developers will see, then you can do back end. Nothing's better than being out in the world and seeing an app people are using that you developed.
But we also developed it.
We also developed
We
it.
also did.
I mean, yes,
on
they
the
might
back
be using
end.
your features, but who put that button there that the user is actually clicking?
It's literally just a button.
Yes, The user has to tap something, or else your work is irrelevant. And we are the ones that are putting that button there and enabling all your work to be seen.
What percentage of your work involves buttons?
50%. Buttons are the most important element because they denote actions. And actions are an important part in the customer journey. You usually come into the app looking to do something, to launch something, to glean more information, and that's what makes buttons so great. All this work goes into one. You just see it as a simple little button. It represents weeks, months of work between multiple teams of people.
All right.
I did not know all that.
Welcome to the wonderful world of front-end engineering. So yes, we add buttons. If you like this video, don't forget to click the button to like and subscribe. Did I nail it? Should we do another one? Good thing you don't have anything embarrassing on your computer back.
And then she's like, we're not reshooting, so she's gonna put like a blur in the corner.